It's interesting, though, because there are people who think, I mean, here's a guy who, met Eisenhower as a congressman, right?
I was running for Congress, exactly.
And worked for Ford and Nixon and Reagan and both Bushes. And there's still those people out there that think, Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney are actually lizards who, I mean, literally, there's people that think they're lizards from outer space.
Yeah, that's true.
Who eat human flesh. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you directly, sir, but are you a lizard?
I don't think
Are
he's
you
a
actually? Can you just please give that a straight answer? Are you a lizard person?
Louis a little left-leaning,
No,
sir.
I'm not. Let him answer. Are you a lizard?
Here's the short answer.
Yeah.
I'm in New York City. I walk down the street. People walk up, shake hands, stop me. They want an autograph.
He's a lizard.
Want to get a photograph with me. Go to eat last night at dinner, and Joyce and I were sitting there in the little Italian restaurant. and a man came up and said he'd like to buy my dinner, and I refused. And it turns out I paid for my dinner. The next thing I know, the waiter comes back and said the man insisted to pay for your dinner, and here's your canceled receipt for paying.
Oh, wow, that's very nice.
there's plenty of people that...
You didn't answer the question.
He's not going to
I think you're hanging around with the wrong people.
He's not going to dignify an answer to, are you a lizard, Louis?
Why not?
Because
Tell me
he's
no.
not a lizard.
What is the story about getting somebody paid for your dinner? I would pay for a lizard's dinner.
I think I understood the fact that there are people out there that appreciate what he's done as a leader. And
there's plenty of evidence that this guy is a well-decorated and appreciated American. And he has more credibility than almost anybody.
Exactly.
But I just want to know if he's a lizard.
He's not a lizard. Stop it. I want to apologize, Mr. Rumsfeld. Louis C.K. is a stand-up comedian, and I do not share his ideology one iota.
Matter of fact, we're meeting him for the first time. We don't even really know him. So we apologize.
Exactly.
It's usually just me and Anthony. But we said, what the hell, we'll try out this local comedy.
Mr. Rumsfeld, I want to ask you a little bit about the situation that's going on now in the Middle East. You are an envoy to the Middle East. What do you see happening there? What's your take on the whole situation?
Well, I think what's happening is that we had good relations with many of the governments in there, in that region, and it was contributing to a stable situation with respect to the generally hostile attitude towards Israel, because an important country like Egypt had a peace treaty with Israel, and that was a valuable thing that Sadat did and Mubarak stuck with. The problem is that those countries did not move towards freer political systems and freer economic systems as rapidly as they should have, and the people are looking for opportunities. Very large populations that are young, and they don't have jobs, and they don't see opportunities, and they look around the world on television or Facebook or something, and they see other countries where people are doing well, and they become dissatisfied. So you have these kinds of turmoil and popular revolutions. Now, the problem is that, take Lebanon, for example. There was a popular revolution.
Yeah, the Hamas wound up...
Hezbollah ended up taking over, and it's a terrorist organization and repressive.
Right.
The same thing in Iran.
Now, isn't that a worry? Like, especially when you have a revolution, as they did in Egypt, not a revolution, but, protest, whatever you want to call it. The guy's gone. Without having another guy to put in there, isn't there a worry as America as to who's going to be there and what kind of government's going to be in place?
Absolutely. Everyone ought to be concerned, not just our country, but Europe and Israel and the neighboring countries. If the problem is that you can have a popular protest and revolution, and the winner is not the people that are looking for greater opportunity. The winner often is a minority group that is very disciplined, very well organized, and very vicious, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, or like the Ayatollahs in Iran.
Yeah.
So you could get the Muslim Brotherhood.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Radical extremists.
Exactly.
Over Egypt, which would be terribly dangerous.
Absolutely.
Listen, and these are great questions, Anthony, and they're questions that Mr. Rumsfeld is going to answer better than almost anybody in the world.
Yeah.
But I still want to know if he's a lizard.
And if he is, stop it.
If he's tasted human flesh.
No, stop.
I just want to know.
Mr. Rumsfeld, again, I want to apologize for Louis C.K. He's a stand-up comedian. He's playing at the Borgata.
It's a legitimate. Look, if he's a lizard who has eaten people,
don't encourage him. It'll just make him worse.
See, I will stop the second I get a denial. I'll stop asking.
Tell Louis that my grandchildren are listening.
See? Well, listen, they have a right to know, too.
No, he's not a lizard, and he's not tasted human flesh.
But you're answering. That's easy for you to say.
I can answer because I know the guy is a great American, a great patriot.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
He's done great things for this country. And
yes, Anthony. Is he a lizard? Is Dick Cheney a lizard?
No, they're not. They are people.
Any Mexican babies? Have they eaten any human beings?
Stop it. Stop it. I know, Mr. Rumsfeld, I apologize. Louis C.K.
I paid for this microphone, mister. I want an answer.
Funny. I don't understand it. Where do you see the where do you see the 2012 elections going? Do you see the Republicans taking the White House again? And who do you see as maybe a good front runner for the Republicans?
I don't think there is one. I think it's one of those rare times when there's not an incumbent president running and there's not a vice president running and there's not an obvious person. And I think what we ought to do is watch them run around the track a while and see how they handle things. It's a tough job, as President Obama is finding out. It's a lot easier to campaign than
exactly.
It is to, and so I think we ought to watch all these candidates. There's some terrific ones running, and I think some of them have executive experience. Some of them have a lot of legislative experience. And see how they handle. Because what's going to happen is they're going to get asked tough questions. They're going to get put in difficult positions. And we're going to then be able to see how their brains work, how they react, how they handle things, what kind of people they recruit for their campaign team, how effective they are in organizing. And all of those are attributes that are helpful for a president.
Before the Lizard Council meets and decides who to appoint.
The Lizard Council doesn't appoint a president, and he's not part of the Lizard Council.
If they do, don't you want to know?
No.
Don't you at least want to give him a chance to say, no, I'm not a lizard?
I don't want to picture Donald Rumsfeld on the other end of this phone listening to you asking
with red lizard
questions. Eyes. No, he's not with red. Mr. Rumsfeld. Again, with the 2012 elections, wouldn't it be good to? And I always wonder why this doesn't happen sooner. To start really grooming a good candidate now. They always seem the Republicans always seem to wait till the last minute to really kind of get together and get a candidate there, a viable candidate that could take on a Democrat, especially an incumbent.
Well, I think that's true of both political parties. If you think back to the Democratic primary that Mr. Obama won, and I think the reason for that is there's no senior council of leading Democrats or leading Republicans who can go into a smoke-filled room and start grooming somebody. It's the American people and the parties, the people of each party that end up picking these candidates.
But it does seem like it would be a lot more advantageous, especially for the party, if they would kind of work together instead of everybody trying to get their piece of the presidency, to just work together and get a candidate, a viable candidate to run that would really have a shot at winning.
Well, and of course, a primary process can produce a mistake, and you could end up with a candidate who's not very good.
Exactly, and I don't think we want to see that. I definitely don't want to see another 4 years of Barack Obama.
No, I know.
That's for sure.
Incumbents, often get reelected, and I think the Republicans are going to have to be careful not to overreach and to manage their affairs in a way that are responsible, and yet address what the American people really care about. And my goodness, this administration has served up a number of targets. How anyone can think that the budget President Obama put forward is responsible is beyond me.
Yeah.
The debt in this country is crushing, and it's going to damage this generation and future generations unless people have the courage to step up and deal with it.
What was it like when you met? There's a picture of you shaking hands with Saddam Hussein. Like, what was that day like? The day you met that dude.
Oh, that famous picture.
The dude who later was hung in a badly lit room.
I tried to tell Louis that was indeed during the time when he was
I'm just curious what that day was like.
And was okay.
I'm just curious. What was that like to meet that fella?
Fair enough.
Well, it was. I was in Baghdad at the request of President Reagan, and I kind of describe this in my book. I met the night before with Tariq Assis, the deputy prime minister, and then the next morning I was invited in to be with Saddam Hussein. And the reason that Secretary Shultz and President Reagan and I all agreed that it made sense was Saddam Hussein was in a war with Iran and had taken our embassy people hostage and was very hostile to the United States. The United States did not have diplomatic relations with Iraq, and the thought was that we, the old adage, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
How did we manage to get crossways with the two big countries in that region, both of them, and yet they were hostile to each other?
Right.
So we felt that it was a good idea to see if we could reestablish relations, and that ultimately was done shortly after my visit. Now, what was it like? You walk in, there's a Middle Eastern despot. Is he a good guy or a Democrat? No. He's a thug. And he's in fatigues, and he's got a pistol on his hip, and he's a tough guy and not a good guy. On the other hand, people in Iran were worse. And when you get up in the morning and look around the world, there are not a lot of George Washingtons or Abraham Lincolns. We have to deal with people who aren't perfect on occasion.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to tell Louis.
And then, so how many guys do you think you've met that died by hanging?
Oh, Jesus.
That's a good question.
Yeah, more than one.
Yeah.
More than one.
More than one, see?
Yeah. I've never met anybody I met a girl who hung herself. But I've never met anybody who was sentenced to hang.
He's had to deal with thugs during his career at some point.
Sure.
He's, the world. And a lot of people judge things, I've noticed, Mr. Rumsfeld, a lot of people judge things based on what's going on now. They don't take it in the context of the history and what was going on at the time. Now, during the Cold War, I think we were willing, as Americans and the press, to accept a lot more covert action on the part of the government for our own safety than we are now. Do you think that's a better thing, that there's so much more information available now? Or is it a kind of a good thing for the government to have maybe a little bit of a little more covertness in their actions?
Oh, I think you're right. I think that we live in a world where there are relatively few countries that are like we are. We have free political systems, and that means that we have got to have intelligence gathering activities if we're going to protect the American people.
Exactly. But American safety is like the biggest deal to us. American defense. We've got to keep the American people safe. But what if a whole lot of people in other places have to die in order for us to be safe? Like, what if you found out that a lot of America was going to get hurt unless we just took France and just wiped it out? Would you trade France?
Hypothetical.
Would you trade France for Texas and Arizona?
Can you imagine if I answered that question?
Thank you.
What the news lead would be?
Exactly.
It would be like the answering your earlier question, where I would deny that I'm something that you asked me.
Right. He's not going to deny he's a lizard.
But he hasn't officially denied it.
What would be hurt by denying that you're a lizard?
I did not just arrive in town falling off a turnip.
There are no turnip carts in New York City.
Well, he didn't fall off of one.
No,
regardless.
I totally understand. But no, that's fascinating to me. What would be hurt by denying? And I'm not going to ask you to deny it now. I'm more interested in what would be hurt if you denied that you're a lizard.
He's justifying the question.
Sorry I brought it up. I apologize.
But
I mean, we like to think that we're a comedy show, so we're just kind of asking a silly question.
But that
there,
is
Mr.
fascinating
Rumsfeld.
to me, that saying I am not a lizard might be dangerous. I want to know how it might hurt. Wait, how would it hurt your credibility?
This happened.
How did this happen?
There's a guy laughing in the background that is looking up our addresses now.
Mr. Rumsfeld, notice that Anthony Cumia is
a true patriot.
I am right behind you. I love your book, Donald Rumsfeld, Known and Unknown Memoir, in bookstores now. This thing really flying off the shelves, too.
I want to ask Mr. Rumsfeld his opinion on the unions right now. It's a big topic out there.
Well, it is, and what we've got is a government, an administration, that, according to the data, has fewer people who've ever been in business than any administration in modern history. And what you've got is a lot of people who are lawyers and professional government people, and they don't have the business background. They have very close connections to the unions, and I'm terribly worried about the way that our trade relations are going around the country. The president and the administration have been responding to pressure from the unions with respect to the trade deal with South Korea, the trade agreement with Colombia. Here's Colombia, an important country in our hemisphere, and we've been stiffing them, and not. We're missing what's going on in the world. In Asia, there are all kinds of trade agreements, and the United States is absent without leave. We're not engaged in doing it. And I think the answer is it's because of the unions. And we're at a first point in our country's history where there are more union members who are government employees than there are who are in the private sector.
That's a conflict, if you ask me.
Well, it's a worry.
Yeah.
And I think it's also not surprising then to note that the average pay of government employees is now higher than in the private sector.
That's not right.
And of course,
why is that not right?
Because it should be the other way around.
Well, of course,
teachers are government employees, right?
And the jobs and the products and the opportunities are all in the private sector, not in government.
Right.
But a teacher is a public employee, right? Is a unionized public employee.
Yes.
So they should be paid well, right?
But it's not a matter of being paid well.
But they should have the power to get together and bargain for better pay and better benefits, right?
Well, if you look around at the school systems, they are in trouble, and they're not providing the kind of education for kids, and so the system isn't working perfectly. My wife Joyce started the Chicago Foundation for Education because the Chicago school system was described as the worst school system in America 25 years ago.
Wow.
And that's, here's a great city, a wonderful city, and it had a school system that the Secretary of Education labeled the worst. Now, why is that? It isn't because people are bad. It's because the process isn't working. There wasn't any choice. People didn't have a choice. They paid their taxes, and they had to go to school in their neighborhood, and they didn't have choice. I'm a Milton Friedman fan. I think giving school vouchers so that parents and kids can make those choices, and pretty soon the schools that nobody wants to choose have to disappear, and the schools where people want to go succeed because they get a good education, they prosper.
Yeah, but American public schools used to be great, and now they're not. So for years and years, they did well without vouchers and charter schools, and then all of a sudden, money got taken out of those systems, and now they're suffering. And then the people that took the money out point at the system and go, "Ha, you suck because I took your money away." So now we're gonna. So what happened? Why did they work before?
I don't think that's the case. What you just said. I don't think that the reason the schools are not doing well today is because the money's not there. I think that you look at the average price that we're paying per student or per school, and it's quite high. It just isn't producing the kind of results that a more competitive system would.
How come it worked before, though? When it was simpler, most people went to public schools, and you could just go walk down your public school and get a great education. Like, how come there's a decline when it was working without the competition?
I think probably it was a result of the fact that we were more of a rural country. We had much more parental involvement. There was more smaller elements, and then as we became more of an urbanized country, there was more distance between parents and the schools, more distance between government in the schools, and they just deteriorate.
And teaching the basics of what people need to know instead of a lot of political correct gibberish.
Really? You think
that
that's
are in the schools now? I believe that, Louis.
Is teaching evolution? That's what hurt the schools?
No, I'm not saying that. I just think that there's a lot going on in schools that has nothing to do with educating the students and preparing them for life.
I could be wrong, but I think there might have been one other thing. You know, for years we had the draft, and we excluded people from the draft who were students, teachers, or married. And as a result, people who did not want to serve in the military kind of gravitated to getting married or becoming a teacher or becoming a student. And so over time you had a bifurcation of a generation. And that group is now just about retiring.
Right.
The all-volunteer military came in under the Nixon administration in the late 1960s and early 1970s. And so all of those people that were up to 1970 now, of course, would be 30, 40 years later. So if they became teachers in the ages of 20, 25, 30, they'd now be retiring.
Yeah.
Hey, did he answer the question about unions? Are you for or against the unions, sir?
What do you mean? I've got no problem with unions. Yeah. What I have a problem with is if unions end up exerting an undue influence in what's taking place in our country and stopping the United States of America from participating in free trade agreements around the world, which are the kinds of things that help to create jobs.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
But if the jobs are in other places and what... I mean, if the United States is getting to compete, who is the United States at that point? Is it General Electric and Walmart, or is it actual people who live in these places like Wisconsin who are asking to be able to sue for their own rights as a union?
Well, if the governor up there, I'm not knowledgeable about Wisconsin. I'm from New Mexico, as the cover of my book shows.
No, you got a polar fleece on.
A handsome picture.
But my recollection is that the governor ran on a platform of doing exactly what he's doing, addressing the fact that the state is bankrupt. And how does he fix that? Well, he can't fix it if the unions won't let him. And he's going to have to find a way to put that state on an upward path rather than allowing it continue to go down, spending more than they take in.
Exactly.
And if the unions are going to try to prevent that, he has to do something about that.
I got an observation. You sound just like Dr. Demento.
What?
Dr. Demento.
Someone's going to appreciate that out there.
Why, somebody?
The Funny Five.
The guy used to do the funny radio thing.
Yes, you got the exact same voice.
Well, he's got a very distinctive voice. I know you could always tell Donald Rumsfeld when he was on TV,
right.
Even from the other room. You have a very strong, distinct voice. I have a couple of questions just out of curiosity I want to ask you.
Just an observation.
Mr. Rumsfeld, what type of aircraft did you fly?
I was flying, the last plane I flew was an S-2F, which was a Grumman anti-submarine plane.
Oh, that's cool.
Did you have more capability to fly it because of your lizard reflexes?
Stop it.
I've got a thought for you.
Okay, good.
Folks are looking for a present for friends of yours. I spent 8 days recording the unabridged version of my book.
Oh.
About 8 hours a day. And if you want to hear the voice...
And the voice, right.
What you do is you buy the unabridged version of the book, and then you can play it in your car when you're going to and from work, and I'll be right there with you.
I think you need that, Louis.
I'll be right there with you.
You absolutely do. I want to ask you one more thing, because I know you got to go soon. I'm a very, very strong advocate of the Second Amendment. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. Are you a member of the NRA?
I'm not sure if I am right now. I have been, and I think I am.
And are you an avid shooter? Because I am, and I love it.
I have guns. I have rifles and shotguns and pistols and at various locations, and I'm an elk hunter out in New Mexico.
So you're a strong advocate of the Second Amendment, as I am, sir?
Have you ever shot a person?
No.
No.
That's a great question.
I think everybody should be asked that.
No one have you shot
Have you ever
person?
Shot some? He was the Secretary of Defense. He was in charge of everybody that America killed for a very long time.
Oh, stop it.
I've been shot at. Does that count?
He's been shot at. That's crazy.
Next to President Ford when the bullet went right by his head and right by my head into the hotel in San Francisco.
Wow. Yeah. That was that crazy.
Were you ever shot at with any other, besides bullets, like plasma rays or anything else that are used
space
to take down?
Would you stop it, Louis?
Flesh-eating space lizards.
My God, man.
Who eat the poor.
Donald Rumsfeld, Known and Unknown, a memoir. I suggest anybody that's interested in the history of this fine country and the history of a patriot and this fine man, go out and buy this book. Thank you, Donald Rumsfeld. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoy being with you.
I'm pretty sure you're a lizard.
Sir. He's not a lizard. Stop it.
Thank you,
sir.
Ate people once.
You should select your partners carefully.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying, sir.
Come see me at the Borgata in Atlantic City on April 23rd. It's almost sold out.
Just a local comic, sir, that we really don't know much about.
Yeah, I don't know
He'll be gone tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Donald Rumsfeld, everyone.
There he is. Donald Rumsfeld. Quick, hang up the phone. Oh, my God. Oh, my dear sweet Jesus.
I can't believe you didn't let him answer.
Why did you keep... Because he wasn't ever going to answer.
Why not just at least
say I'm not a lizard?
Hear his not answering. At least hear the silence of not answering.
He said I wouldn't answer that because
I didn't get to hear because you kept talking with other questions over him not answering.
I'm not going to sit there and listen to the former Secretary of Defense try to defend that he's not a lizard.
Why wouldn't you?
Why?
Because why wouldn't you want to live that moment?
Because first of all, he's not a lizard.
Why do you want to be baby CNN? instead of the only show that finally got the guy to say, okay, look, I'm going to finally say something about this lizard shit. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm not a lizard per se.
No, he said he wasn't going to dignify it. He said if he said yes or no.
That could have been a recording. It could have been a dude playing like those prank calls.
No, it was Donald Rumsfeld.
But the thing got interesting when we asked him if he was lizard. It put a hitch in his giddy up.
You know what? He handled it like a gentleman and like a professional.
He handled it like a lizard who knows how to never answer.
No, he said, I'm not going to answer.
Did you hear at one point, and I wish you'd almost play it back, the first time I asked it and he told that fucking psychotic story about a friend, some guy buying him dinner? And then he said, you're messing with the wrong people. He said that. Go back and play it. And then he bought me dinner. You're messing with the wrong people. And then I swear to God, he said it.
See,
go find that and play it back.
But it was because he was saying how people do find him fine and a great person.
So what is that? Why does that mean I'm messing with the wrong people? Unless he's trying to tell me that I'm not going to make it home tonight.
Maybe he was throwing a subliminal thing out like you threw a subliminal lizard out in the middle of his discussion.
It was not subliminal. It was quite direct. And I paid him respect. I said, you totally are this guy who's done these amazing things. I just want to know if you and Dick Cheney are lizards.
No,
when you ask somebody
if he ate human flesh, you asked if he ate human flesh. And that is not a question for the Secretary of Defense.
Well,
look, if he has eaten human flesh, we better find out. If he is a lizard, we better know because he's coming back.
If he ate Mexican babies, you asked Donald Rumsfeld if he ate Mexican babies.
If I was in his position, I would be I'd be happy for the opportunity to acquit myself on that.
Come on,
on that issue.
The guy doesn't have to.
What the fuck is it hurt a person to say no? I am not a lizard. No, I haven't eaten a Mexican baby.
Because then somebody in the press can write, when asked if he was a lizard, Donald Rumsfeld replied...
Told a story about the guy buying him dinner. What the fuck kind of a denial is that?
It's not.
What the fuck kind of denial is that?
No one would buy dinner for a lizard in a restaurant.
I believe
he was answering you through a story.
I believe that the space lizard baby eaters
he's not a space lizard.
He and Dick Cheney have some weird thing where they can't lie about it.
Listen,
where if asked directly, they have to say yes.
Oh, you think that's a thing?
They can either not answer or they can't say, or they have to say yes. So they do anything. Tell a story about someone buying you dinner.
So you're saying that there's something ingrained in the lizardness that keeps him from saying...
just saying, no, of course not.
They can't do that.
Can't do it. His lizard head comes off and the red eyes come out.
In honor of Louis C.K., I just tweeted, answer the question, are you a lizard? Hashtag are you a lizard? No. Louis C.K. wants to know. Pass it along.
I really want to know. I just want an answer, and I really was fascinated that he said, "Can you imagine what would happen if I answered?"
Exactly.
By the way,
could you imagine?
I asked him if we could wipe out France to save Arizona and Texas. Would we do it? And he said, why wouldn't you answer?
Why would you?
Because
Donald Rumsfeld, why would you answer that?
Because he may if he can't answer the question, that means he's had to weigh that and he may have to do it. And he may have to do it. The fact that he can't answer that on the same level playing as can't answer that he's not a lizard means that they're both viable questions.
No, they are not.
Yeah.
Roland, did we survive?
I can't wait till Louis gets home, and it's going to be dark, and he'll unlock his door, shut it, and someone will go, leave the light off, Louis.
Well, his guy asked me for Louis' email address.
Yes,
did he really?
Yes.
No.
Really? Donald Rumsfeld?
Leave the light off.
Let me say hi to Brian in Pennsylvania. Brian.
Fellas, that was Radio Gold. That was a fantastic interview. And do you realize that you had one of the major chess pieces in world history? I mean, the last 10 years has influenced all of us as Americans.
Exactly.
No, absolutely.
Just interviewed. And you know what was even classic was that you can tell how much Louis C.K. is a fucking comedian. This guy could not keep a straight. He couldn't do a straight question.
No, I couldn't stop laughing. You know what? I was laughing because I was a little scared to be saying it. Like I was laughing nervous.
I was cracking up because Travis Teft, by the way, Travis was popping up pictures of Donald Rumsfeld at the podium with a big lizard head, like a suit, a tie, and a lizard head. And I was laughing. I couldn't look at the screen because I was laughing.
Look, we all know Danny Ross sits in this.
It was a perfect interview because he's not going to answer really, really tough questions. So Louis kept it nice with the lizard thing.
I think it was fascinating to talk.
You certainly asked the right questions.
I wanted to keep.
I like that I got a direct answer to how many people have you met that died by hanging?
Yeah, there were quite
and
a
he
few.
said more than one.
More than one.
Very casual.
More than one.
That was Well, Saddam is a biggie. Maybe Chemical Ali.
Yeah.
You might have met him at some point.
At one point, someone in the background was laughing. One of his people.
One of his people started laughing.
We got the lizard comment. I got to hear it again.
Oh,
you got that? Yeah.
Oh, no.
E-Rock.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
Yeah, play. This is the answer with the dinner thing. All right, play it until he says you mess with the wrong people. I want to hear that context. Go ahead.
The whole thing is a minute and a half.
All right,
that's fine. Where are we going?
It's interesting, though, because there are people who think, I mean, here's a guy who, met Eisenhower as a congressman, right?
I was running for Congress, exactly.
And worked for Ford and Nixon and Reagan and both Bushes. And there's still those people out there that think, Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney are actually lizards. Literally, there's people that think they're lizards from outer space.
Yeah, that's true.
Who eat human flesh. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you directly, sir, but are you a lizard?
I don't think
Are
he's
you
a lizard.
actually? Can you just please give that a straight answer? Are you a lizard person?
Louis a little left-leaning,
No,
sir.
I'm not.
I'm deflecting.
Let him answer. Are you a lizard?
Here's the short answer. Yeah. I'm in New York City. I walk down the street. People walk up, shake hands, stop me. They want an autograph.
They wouldn't do this to Blizzard.
Go to eat last night at dinner, and Joyce and I were sitting there in the little Italian restaurant. and a man came up and said he'd like to buy my dinner, and I refused. And it turns out I paid for my dinner. The next thing I know, the waiter comes back and said the man insisted to pay for your dinner, and here's your canceled receipt for paying.
Oh, wow, that's
See, there's plenty of people that...
But you
didn't answer the question.
He's not going to
I think you're hanging around with the wrong people.
He's not going to dignify an answer to, are you
Stop
a
it there.
lizard?
Stop it there. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
He was asked if he was a lizard from space who eats human flesh.
Right.
His answer was, the short answer is, I was walking in New York City last night and went to a little Italian restaurant. Me and Joyce had a nice dinner, and a fellow wanted to pay for our dinner. Turns out we'd already paid for our dinner. Next thing I know, the waiter gives us a canceled check, says, it's on the house. I think you're messing with the wrong people. That was his answer verbatim. That was his answer verbatim.
I think he said, you're hanging around with the wrong people.
Play just that last quote again.
Okay. You didn't answer the question.
He's not going to dignify.
I think you're hanging around with the wrong people.
Well, even what the fuck does that even mean?
He meant that we shouldn't be hanging with you.
Oh, is that it?
Yes.
You're so dead.
Somebody bought me dinner last night. You're hanging around with the wrong people.
It's still bad for you because he basically told us we shouldn't be hanging with you.
You're so dead, Louis.
Because unless you want to be collateral damage.
You know what? You know what I say? Go see Louis C.K. at the Borgata.
I don't think he makes it to April 23rd.
April 23rd. You know
Come watch me be assassinated live like Malcolm X. Come watch a fucking patsy whose kid is in a cellar being beaten.
A patsy.
Shoot me in the fucking head in front of the Atlantic City fucking half-awake gamblers.
They're going to walk you through the kitchen like Bobby.
In front of a bunch of comped Chinese guys
just gonna
flew in on jets.
Your head's going to vaporize.
Yeah.
The point is still
lizard.
See, there is why I asked him, because
when
I watched Rumsfeld is that when I saw him do those press conferences, I always thought if somebody asked him something like that, are you a lizard that eats human flesh? He'd go, yes, I am. Next question. And it would be like, now we know, but who cares? They have too much power for anybody to do anything. He's an unelected official. He's a dangerous man. He never has been. He ran for Congress once. Otherwise, he's never been fucking
dangerous people that have been elected. He was.
Sure.
He's a great man.
Sure.
Yeah. Donald Rumsfeld, great man. That's what I say. That's my take on
look
him.
at his fucking face.
He's a handsome man.
That is an easy mask
Look
to
at the
zip
back.
on and off.
Look
If
at
I've
the
ever seen one.
He's not zipping
I've ever
it. You
seen-
think he's zipping it over his lizard head?
Every few years, they update it so he ages. they got a guy that they fucking took hostage from Lucas, from the Lucas Ranch.
Industrial Lights and Magic.
Yeah.
When does he go back to
ages him.
being a lizard?
What's that?
When does he just go back to being a
And he
lizard?
goes home. He's probably fucking sitting there as a lizard talking to us right now.
Holy shit,
On the phone,
really?
he's sitting. I am not going to answer that question.
Do you think he's just
He's sitting there as a lizard with his little fucking green legs crossed.
Because he didn't have to be in public today.
That's right.
And his tail.
The guy laughing, if you probably play it back, you'll hear a lizard. He left. The guy in the background. Yeah, he's playing with his tail. Whatever lizards do when they're
Twirling
on the phone.
his tail on the phone, not even answering your
Yeah, I'm not
question.
going to answer that. Get his phone.
He's not a lizard. You are so
You're hanging
dead.
around with the wrong people.
Hanging around with the wrong people.
What kind of fucking answer was that? I don't understand it.
Here's the short
It's almost
answer.
like if you ask a computer a question that gets underneath its program, and it comes back gibberish.
It doesn't know what
Like
it is.
that's how to find out somebody's a robot. You're talking to them, and all of a sudden you say to them like lemonade dog sauce, and they go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. That's what that was like.
That's how Kirk used to get
I'm
the
telling
androids
you,
all the time.
I'm telling you what happened. I'm going to tell you what happened.
All right.
He is a lizard who presses these buttons to answer questions. Like he's got a bodysuit that goes on when he does press conferences
Right.
that he runs ergonomically.
Okay.
But when he's a lizard with his body off, he can't talk, so he just uses this button.
It's like a soundboard.
Like your fucking
like
soundboard.
a sound machine or something.
Yeah, like
No shit.
yeah, that kind of. He's got
Okay.
a Rumsfeld loaded one of those.
Okay.
And I said, "Are you a lizard?" And he went, "Oh fuck!" And he fumbled and he hit the "Tell the story about dinner" button. He tell the story, that nice story button.
Like when we hit the
Like
wrong
when they
effect
asked,
sometimes.
he has a button. He had that loaded for like, "Have you enjoyed your time in New York?"
Yeah. So what have you been doing in New York?
Are you a lizard that
Well,
eats flesh? Oh fuck! Well, I went to a dinner. Shit.
Here's a short of it. I was, and he's like, I can't just stop it now.
No, he has to listen. Yeah, you can't stop
I
it.
gotta let it roll.
Yes.
So yeah, let the whole dinner story.
That's what happened. I'm telling you.
Oh fuck, Louie. God damn, man.
That was one for the ages right there.
He's not a lizard, I don't
Be
think.
careful.
But if he is,
Be careful what you eat in the coming days there, Lo.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna
Be
get
careful.
some fucking rice stuck in your
I'm going
side.
to only eat figs like Caesar Augustus. Fucking lived on figs till his wife painted poison on him.
We should take a break, I guess. What do you
Yeah,
want to do?
please. Let's take a break.
And certainly getting props on the interview there.
Oh,
so.
it was a lot
nice
of fun
job.
talking.
You
Well,
actually-
I had to be the straight
Yes.
man.
You actually did
Someone
a
had to
good
keep him
job
on the
with that.
fucking
No,
phone.
it is pretty artful how you're able to keep him on the phone after those
to
questions.
just blurt out another question, and you heard me going like da, 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 da.
Da, da,
All I'm
da.
trying to think of is anything I can ask
Wasn't
him. that
Reagan
would-
nice?
What kind of aeroplane did you fly? Ah, Christ, man.
All right. We got Duff McKagan. He's going to check
Duff
in
is
next.
coming in?
Say hi to us. It's
he
been
a
a while.
lizard?
Good friend of the show.
He's not a lizard.
He can help you with stocks, too, Lo.
All right, good.
I want
He
to
knows
hear,
the stock
I wanna hear
market a little
about
bit.
what's going on with
And other
Apple.
things. All right. Are you a lizard? That's what
Still
we're asking.
unanswered.
That's what we're asking on
and
Twitter
it
right
still
now.
remains unanswered.
Remains
Unanswered.
unanswered.
Enjoy that hashtag. Are you a lizard? One
God.
word. Opie and Anthony. Louis C.K. Borgata, April 23rd, man.
God damn.
What are you doing? Get your tickets now. You didn't answer the question.
He's
That was-
not going
I
to
think you're
dignify.
hanging around with the wrong people.